Rolling on here at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco, Texas, a home game for Fear the Frog. I'm just telling you, at the end of last year, TCU, you wanted no piece of Hoover and those Power Frogs. 9-4, 6-3 in the conference, tied for 5th in the Big 12. And with what Sonny Dykes has coming back, especially at the quarterback position, you can bet things are healthy in Fort Worth, as we are pleased to welcome in Sonny Dykes, head coach. TCU, good seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's always this time of year where you get the itch to talk college football. Now, we're all Vegas guys, but I can imagine you like just driving right up the road to Media Days and hanging out with us.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it was nice. We got away for a little bit, had a little vacation, and flew back into DFW last night, and here we are today, and it's nice to be able to get in the car and drive.
What are coaches' vacations like now?
Short. Short and, and usually eventful because, you're fielding some phone calls and there's just so much weird things going on. But It's great, though. I got to spend a bunch of time with the family, and we had a great break.
I touched on it there as we were going through your season review, how you guys ended the season. You guys were one of those teams that we just talked to Lance Leipold. You didn't want to touch you guys at the end of the season. How might something in the momentum that you started to build with the returning quarterback kind of catapult you into the offseason and now?
Yeah, I think the big thing for us last year, we were sitting there at 3-3, not playing very good football, and really we were all disappointed, all looking for answers, and I think our guys understood what we needed to do to win, and that was quit turning the ball over and create some turnovers defensively, and we sold that to our players. We had an open week before we had to go play Utah, and we turned the ball over 12 times in 3 games, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
We had to try really hard to do that. And once we quit doing that, we had a pretty good football team. And so our guys understand the value of that, how important it is now. They're emphasizing that in the conversations they have with each other as players are coaching each other in the OTAs over the summer. They're talking about ball security and stripping the ball and doing all the things. So I think they've learned how important it is to our success.
Yeah, the turnover margin is such a huge part of the storyline for y'all last year. But it also, I think, too, with the offense. When you take the ball out of Josh Hoover's hand, it's like, all right, the defense, you gave him one by handing it off. But I feel like your offense at its best has really dynamic run game and a rushing attack that can really keep you honest and actually wear you out if it gets going. How do you get back to create a little more balance offensively this year?
Yeah, that was a disappointing thing for us offensively last year. We went into the season thinking we'd be able to run the ball better than we did, and it just never happened. And it was frustrating, very frustrating for us. Josh had to do more than he was probably ready to do early on. And as we started to get settled in a little bit, play a little bit better defense, took some pressure off of him. As that happened, we quit turning the ball over, and as that happened, we had a pretty good football team. And so we got to be able to run the football, as you said, Greg. When we can run the ball, we're a pretty good football team. And we need to be able to run the ball when people know we're going to run it.
Yeah.
And we have to be a little bit more physical. We got to do a better job at the running back position, finishing runs, and then we got to call it more.
Coach, a lot of conversation about your quarterback this offseason, Josh Hoover, and rightfully so. One of the best players in the entire country. But he loses a couple key pieces from the wide receiver room to the NFL draft. Who emerged in spring ball, and who should we expect to see this fall step up in that wide receiver room?
Yeah, like our group. Eric McAllister, who's here with us today, is a guy that was a big play waiting to happen last year. He did a tremendous job. In really a limited amount of time. Very, very productive player. He's got great range, great catch radius, can do things with the ball after he catches it. So he should have a big year and really gotten more mature, has gotten more strong and more physical. Excited about him. Jordan Dwyer's a transfer that's been really, really successful. A kid that came in and saw really good things from him this spring. And then Joseph Manjack came to us from Houston. And then we have some really young freshman guys that are starting to develop. Dozier Zakama is a really, really talented young receiver, and some guys that are really starting to come into their own as well. So I really like the room. Not as much experience maybe as we had last year, but I think guys that are capable.
We've seen it. We saw it at Arizona State last year. We saw it out of you guys. We saw it out of Baylor, in that on any given year, any team is capable of winning this conference. How would you describe the Big 12 from Team 1 to Team 16?
Yeah, chaotic, but deep. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes this league different. When's the last time the two teams that are picked to win the SEC finished last, and when's the last time the team that was picked to win the SEC finished first?
Yeah.
That didn't happen in the SEC. It doesn't happen in the Big Big Ten, but it's happened in the Big 12, and it's happened several times over the last couple of years. Very, very competitive league, very deep league. You're going to have to play well every week. You know, the key to winning a championship in this league is winning one-score games. You're going to play a lot of one-score games.
Yep.
And so it's going to come down to the little things that determine games. Turnovers, red zone offense, defense, you know, being great in the 2-minute drill, you know, being able to run the football consistently, you know, being able to run the clock out at the end of games. All those things are incredibly important in this league.
I'm not sure there's anybody outside of maybe Gundy that can answer this question better. Seeing, though, from your perspective, you've been at different places within the league.
Yep.
And you've seen the league evolve from your time at Texas Tech to watching on the outside, now being back in TCU. Where is the league now as far as the style of play that's ultimately going to win it? Because it feels more line of scrimmage than it's ever been before.
Yeah, you know, I think so. I think, you know, you go back to my time in the 2000s with Mike Leach. Coming into the league, it was a 21 personnel I formation league.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 years later, it was an air raid league. Everybody had some kind of version of the air raid. And I think the league lost a little bit of that physical nature that it takes to go out and win at a very high level. What made our team competitive and gave us a chance to play for a national championship at 22 was we were a line of scrimmage football team. You know, we were really good up front. We ran the football. We were physical. We weren't necessarily big on defense, but we played aggressive enough to give ourselves a chance up front. I think that we're trying to get back to that. You know, I like our offensive line. I like our backs. We're bigger. We can finish runs better. I like our defense scheme-wise. We can match up better at corner now, which allows us to do more things up front. But to be great and to win at the very highest level, you have to win the line of scrimmage. You know, we beat Michigan in 22 because we stopped the run. And we made them do something they weren't comfortable doing. Now, we had to outscore them, but it gave us a chance to win that football game. And so, you know, it has to be a line of scrimmage league to compete at the very highest level.
Yeah, and to that point, your defensive coordinator, Andy Avalos, he's now year 2. You know, he's implemented his system, and you talk about stopping the run. What did you see out of your defense in spring ball in regards to working towards stopping that run, winning the line of scrimmage as you head into fall camp?
Well, I think the big thing for us, as you said, is year 2 now, having consistency at the coordinator position. Our guys know what to do, how to do it. Now we can be much more aggressive in what we want to do up front as far as line movement goes, as far as stacking the box and line of scrimmage and creating favorable matchups for us defensively. We match up better at the corner position, a lot more depth than we've had. You look at the 22 team, you know, we really had 2 corners that we could play with. I was probably the 3rd corner, and that's not good. I'm not good at backpedaling, you know what I'm saying? I've got great speed.
You're a squat corner. You can play cover 2. You can handle that. Yeah.
But, you know, and so we've got 6 or 7 corners this year that we really feel good about. And so the depth that we have defensively, being the second year, being further along in the scheme, understanding the scheme, I think is going to allow us to do more things defensively, which is going to make it harder for people to run the ball against us.
You open up Labor Day weekend against North Carolina and Bill Belichick, and I think you understand this because you've been in the big game before.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How many eyeballs that's going to get because of the other?
It's going to be a lot.
I mean, that's a great showcase for your team.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be on Labor Day, Monday. I think it's the only football game on that day, if I'm not mistaken. And so, obviously, it's going to garner a lot of attention because of Coach Belichick, and deservedly so. We're going to need to handle that better. You know, we were Deion's first game, and we did not handle that well. Our guys, I didn't do a good job getting our team ready for all the stuff that came along with that game. We're certainly going to be prepared for that this go around. And, you know, we're going to have to be really well prepared for what's going to happen between the lines as well. You know, they're going to be very well coached. We're not going to have a great idea of what they're going to do scheme-wise. But the big part for us is going to be the mental part of the game and making sure our guys are focused on what happens between the lines.
By the way, that game, 6 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Matt Joey, pregame halftime for you. A little plug for that one.
Easy.
I have to let the viewer know this story quickly. Who is one of your emerging friendships in Fort Worth right now?
Billy Bob Thornton. Yeah, you know, they're filming Landman around here. Taylor Sheridan's the Fort Worth guy, went to Pasco High School, basically across the street from TCU's campus. So it's been fun watching all the movie stars and stuff parade through Fort Worth.
Is it true that John Hamm's house is actually your house in Landman?
No, it's not true. That's definitely not true. You know what's funny, though? I saw that. I'm like, man, that's a pretty sharp-looking house.
Not bad.
Who has that house?
Let's throw a low roll at that one. Let's try.
And why is it not mine? Have Billy Bob do one of his Friday Night Light speeches for you. Fantastic.
Exactly. Don't think that hadn't crossed my mind.
Do it. Sonny, great seeing you.
Yeah, you guys.
Good luck this season. Cannot wait for week 1. ESPN against North Carolina. Continued success. Good luck the rest of the way. Sonny Dykes, head coach, TCU.